On the wedding day, I had spent 500,000 yuan preparing a romantic wedding for myself, but the bride's name was listed as my husband's ex-girlfriend Stella. Just as I was about to confront the manager, I was stopped by Eric, my soon-to-be husband who was about to marry into my family. "Can't you stop acting like a shrew? The name is correct," I asked the manager to change it. "I promised Stella I'd give her a wedding. Stella is an orphan. Today, have your parents cooperate and pretend to be Stella's parents. The dowry car and house your mom gave you, have them all registered under Stella's name. Prepare the bride price and 5 gold items for her, everything necessary must be there. I don't want her to feel wronged." "Fine, you've been eating my food and living in my place, and now you think getting me pregnant gives you control over me, right? What did you say?" Eric spoke so self-righteously that I didn't react immediately. He impatiently repeated, "I said there's no mistake, I asked the manager to change the name." I was stunned for a few seconds, suppressing the surging anger in my chest. "What do you mean? We're not getting married then? So..." Before I could finish, Eric hurriedly interrupted with a smile on his face, full of longing. "When I was with Stella, I promised her I'd give her a wedding, letting her wear a haute couture wedding dress like a princess, surrounded by 99,999 roses, and escorted by 1,000 luxury cars." At this point, his expression changed. "You're pregnant, so the wedding dress you ordered only considers yourself. Stella can't even fit into it. What are you scheming? Are you deliberately preventing me from fulfilling my promise to her?" Hearing this, I could no longer hold back and slapped him hard across the face. Stella appeared out of nowhere, distressfully covering Eric's face and roaring at me, "Rachel, what are you doing?" Eric looked at her with eyes full of affection. "It's okay, Stella. She's angry, it's normal." After saying that, he tightly gripped Stella's hand, shielding her behind him, and turned his gaze toward me. "You hit me, your anger should be gone now. Go order a new wedding dress set right away, one that's better in price and quality than this one." He really had the audacity to say that. That wedding dress had taken half a year to make, with 10 craftsmen hand-sewing the diamonds onto it. My parents, having only me as their daughter, were willing to spend 200,000 yuan to customize it for me. Now, without even touching it myself, it had been ruined by Stella. "You ruined my wedding dress?" Stella pouted, although her words were directed at me. Her eyes looked aggrievedly toward Eric. "Rachel, not to criticize you, but the wedding dress you chose is too low class. It broke without me doing much to it. Do you know how much that wedding dress is worth? The wedding can be called off today, but she must compensate for the dress my parents customized for me." I spread my palm open. 200,000, cash or card is fine, otherwise, I'll call the police." Stella hesitated, aggrievedly hiding behind Eric. Seeing her upset, Eric spoke to me with a tone full of impatience. "Rachel, have you fallen into the money pit? Can you stop talking about money all the time and tainting my wedding with Stella?" I laughed in anger. "Brother, if you two want to have a wedding, I have no objection." Eric's face lit up upon hearing this. "Rachel, I didn't expect you to be so reasonable. Initially, Stella said it was best to tell you about our wedding on the day itself. If I'd known you were so understanding, I should have told you that day. Now we wouldn't be in such a passive position, having to wear your wedding dress. So, while there's still a few hours before the wedding starts, transfer 500,000 yuan to me, and I'll take Stella to buy one now." I interrupted him and added, "Pay for it yourself, you can have a wedding with a wild boar for all I care." His face immediately fell. "Rachel, you can hit me or curse me, but you can't insult me. Yes, I have no money now, but that doesn't mean I'll be broke for life. Don't bully the young and poor, one day, you'll regret your actions today." He would turn 30 next year and still called himself young, really thinking men are boys until death? There was no bride price, the wedding was paid for by me, and the 5 gold items were bought by my mom. I didn't mind any of this, after all, he was marrying into my family. "Eric, don't forget you're marrying into my family, what airs are you putting on here?" Upon hearing the words, "marrying into," Eric became even more agitated. What's wrong with marrying into your family? It doesn't mean I have to take your abuse. I'm your husband, the father of your child, not your servant. Stella also poked her head out. Rachel, you're too domineering, you need to change that personality. Eric just wants to fulfill his promise to me by having a wedding. After it's done, his entire being and future will belong to you alone. At this point, large tears rolled down her cheeks. Can't you tolerate me at all? Are you unwilling to fulfill even this small wish of mine? Fine, I don't need the wedding dress, I'll wear that ruined one, but I still want to complete our promise with Eric. Eric felt immense heartache, wiping away her tears as if no one else was around. Rachel, Stella has been wronged enough, can't you be more magnanimous? Magnanimous? Look at the nonsense you're spouting. Eric's eyes grew even more impatient. Can't you be more civilized? Stella wouldn't hang words like shit and piss on her lips like you do. In the future, when the child is born, you can't teach them, let Stella do it. Stella gently responded to him, that wouldn't be right, after all, it's Rachel's child. Eric gripped her hand tighter. I believe in you, you'll definitely teach the child the best. As if sensing it, the child in my belly gently kicked me, and I let out a muffled groan. Eric furrowed his brows and began lecturing, I told you not to have the wedding with a big belly, aren't you ashamed? Getting pregnant before marriage and making such a big fuss. Alright, go back first, you're not needed here. I can leave, but for ruining my things, you must compensate me. I walked up to Stella with my belly protruding, she fearfully hid behind Eric. Rachel, hitting people is illegal. Eric, I'm scared. Eric, thinking I was about to hit her, reached out and shoved me hard. I lost my balance and fell to the ground, waves of cramping pain came from my belly, and blood flowed down my thighs. The child, hurry, take me to the hospital. Eric froze for a few seconds and was about to help me up to go to the hospital when Stella stopped him. Eric, Rachel wouldn't be pretending to have stomach pain because you're having a wedding with me, trying to stop the wedding, right? His motion to help me up paused, and he immediately looked at me suspiciously. Rachel, your scheming is too deep, you're actually using the child to threaten me into compromising. If this delays my wedding with Stella, I won't forgive you. My belly hurt more and more, and dense cold sweat appeared on my forehead. Eric, I'm not pretending, hurry, take me to the hospital. He remained unmoved. Stella continued, Rachel, if I hadn't studied medicine for a few years, I'd almost be fooled by you. You're only 3 months along, a fall on flat ground won't cause a miscarriage at all. Stop acting. Her university major was related to medicine, but she didn't even get her degree. Yet Eric believed her words and looked at me coldly. Rachel, stop making a fuss, transfer the 500,000 yuan to me first. I need to take Stella to buy a wedding dress. The intense pain already left me unable to speak. Eric thought I was using silent resistance, rushed over, snatched my bag, took out the bank card, and asked, what's the password? Inside was the 600,000 yuan cash my mom prepared as my dowry. Naturally, I couldn't reveal the password. With Eric unreliable, I could only save myself, reaching out to grab back my bag, taking out my phone, and dialing the emergency number. Stella stepped forward, snatched my phone, and hung up. Rachel, when will you change your bad habit of tattling? For such a small matter, who else do you want to tell? Do you have to make a big fuss, getting everyone to blame Eric, to be satisfied? Stella and I worked at the same company. The tattling she referred to was when the team members had painstakingly organized the data and asked her to compile it into a PPT, but after a week, it wasn't done. When asked, she'd just say, it's almost ready, don't worry. On the day before the presentation, at closing time, she had only done the beginning. I knew she was waiting for the team members to get impatient and take over her work. She had done this before. The team had decided to teach her a lesson, so when she happily packed up to leave, they stopped her. You can leave only after the PPT is done. Dissatisfied, she complained to the general manager, saying the team was bullying her. I merely stated the truth, but in her eyes, it became tattling. The pain from below made my consciousness blur. Subconsciously, I defended myself. I wasn't going to tell my family. I just wanted to call 120 to save the child. Stella sneered, "Stop pretending, neither Eric nor I will believe you." I turned my pleading gaze to Eric. "This is your child too." He lowered his head, not daring to meet my eyes, and repeated again, "The password." "As long as you give me the password, I'll have Stella return your phone." Biting my lip hard, I persisted in not revealing the password. "If I don't tell you the password today, are you going to let me die in pain here?" Eric's tone was firm. "Rachel, stop fussing, the wedding is about to start. Besides, Stella said such a light fall won't cause any issues. Hurry and tell me the password. After Stella and I finish the wedding, I'll definitely treat you well from now on." Stella, hiding behind Eric, flashed me a smug smile. Money was important, but so was the child in my belly. I closed my eyes and compromised by revealing the password. Upon hearing the password, Eric finally deigned to lift his head and look at me. "That's the day we met." The password was indeed the date of my first meeting with Eric, but starting today, that password would be changed. Enduring the pain, I extended my hand toward him. "Now you can return my phone, right?" Eric nodded. "Rachel, I didn't have to escalate things to this point either. In the future, don't be like this, listen to me, and we can grow old together." After saying that, he extended his hand, signaling Stella to give me the phone. Stella stepped back, hiding the phone behind her. "No, if I give it to you now, what if you call the bank to report the card lost?" I forced myself to stand up, no longer having the energy to be angry at this ridiculous couple, even raising my hand to swear, "I absolutely won't report it lost." "Eric, please, have her return my phone." Eric showed a trace of reluctance. "Stella, Rachel isn't that kind of person, return her phone." Stella's eyes reddened, tears swirling but not falling. "Eric, don't you trust me?" Asked like that by her, Eric immediately raised his hands in surrender, embracing her and comforting, "I didn't mean that, Stella, you're the person I trust most in this life." Only then did Stella stop her tears. I clutched my belly, my nails digging deep into my palm to maintain a shred of clarity and avoid fainting. "Whatever you want to do for your marriage is fine. I wish you 100 years of harmony and early birth of a noble son. Now return my phone or take me to the hospital." "Rachel, what angry words are you saying? The person marrying me is you. I'm just having a wedding ceremony with Stella to satisfy her." I waved my hand, biting my tongue tip to stay alert. "Fine, Eric, for the sake of carrying your child, call the emergency number for me now." Saying these few words had exhausted my last bit of strength. Seeing my pale face devoid of color, Eric finally somewhat believed I wasn't pretending and wanted to pull out his own phone to call 911 for me. He was stopped again by Stella. "Eric, the wedding is about to start, I've seen symptoms like Rachel's before, a little rest and it'll be fine." Eric's action of pulling out his phone paused, he looked at me with a guilty face. "Rachel, endure a bit longer, lie on the sofa in the makeup room and rest for a while. After Stella and I finish the wedding, I'll take you to the hospital." The wedding would take at least 2 hours to complete. By then, not only the child but I myself would be in life-threatening danger. If the situation allowed, I would certainly curse at the two of them, but in reality, I didn't even have the strength to resist. I could only let Eric help me onto the sofa, cover me with a blanket, and then turn to leave. My phone was also taken by Stella. Mustering my last bit of strength, I crawled to the door, leaving a trail of blood behind, propped myself up, and opened the door. After dragging myself dozens of meters, upon seeing the manager who was coordinating with me to set up the wedding venue, I finally passed out in relief. Save me. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital, the strong smell of disinfectant filling my nose. My parents were guarding my bedside. Seeing me open my eyes, they both stood up. "Darling, what happened?" We called Eric, but no one answered. I didn't directly answer my parents' question, just asking, "The child?" An uneasy expression flashed across their faces. "Darling, you're still young, there will be children." That meant it wasn't saved. Tears slid down from the corners of my eyes. I told my parents what happened in the makeup room. After hearing it, they slapped the bedboard loudly. This is outrageous, darling, this matter can't just end like this. Of course, I borrowed my dad's phone to prepare to call the police when Eric's call came in. I answered, and on the other end, he let out a long sigh of relief. You're okay, that's good. I said sarcastically, yes, I'm fine, it's you who's in trouble. The other side seemed not to catch my sarcasm and shamelessly replied, indeed, there is something. Give the phone to our dad. He pushed me causing a miscarriage, yet he could still call him our dad. For the first time I discovered how thick-skinned Eric was. What do you want with my dad? He paused and said something that left me stunned for a long time. You know, Stella is an orphan, I want our dad to walk her to me and hand her over. Even having seen Eric's thick skin, I was still so angry that my blood surged. That's my dad, he'll only walk his own daughter. Not understanding the refusal in my words, Eric grinned cheekily on the phone. We're about to get married, what's the difference between yours and mine? Before I could refute, he continued, oh, and another thing, the 5 gold items your mom bought for you in the makeup box, I gave them to Stella. She said she'd never worn such expensive jewelry, so I decided to gift them to her. Dizziness washed over me, ignoring the lingering pain in my belly. I roared at the other end of the phone, those are my things, on what basis did you give them to her? Eric self-righteously said, what's yours and mine? We're getting married, yours is mine. We have plenty of money, what's wrong with giving some gold items to Stella? Why are you so stingy? Unable to endure any more, I hung up and directly dialed the police. Hello, I want to report a crime, someone pushed me causing a miscarriage and robbed me of 600,000 yuan. To personally witness the downfall of this scumbag and cheap woman, ignoring my parents' dissuasion, I endured my physical discomfort and went to the wedding site with the police. Upon seeing me, Eric immediately furrowed his brows and came up pulling at me. Rachel, what are you doing? Get out quickly, if you ruin my wedding with Stella, don't blame me for turning hostile. I shook off his arm and pointed at him. Police, it's him who robbed me of 600,000 yuan. Eric's body stiffened for a second, then he flew into a rage. Rachel, are you sick? You filed a false report just to ruin my wedding with Stella? The police following behind me had some doubts and asked, do you two know each other? Eric jumped in before me. Yes, officers, we know each other, we're husband and wife. We had a small argument today, sorry for the trouble. After saying that, ignoring my wishes, he forcibly pulled me to bow an apology. She's already a mother, yet so willful, wasting police resources. Mentioning the child made my eyes heat up, and tears flowed. Eric said disdainfully, now you know to cry. I think having the police lock you up for 2 days would make you behave. The police who came with me had their eyes light up upon hearing the amount, but after hearing Eric say we were husband and wife, their expressions quickly dimmed, advising, in the future, don't call the police for quarrels. They were about to leave. Eric nodded obsequiously in agreement, then turned to me with a barrage of reprimands. Hurry to the backstage, Stella is about to enter. If relatives and friends see you like this, they'll think I bullied you. I wiped my tears and called out to the police who were turning to leave. Officers, this is my ID, look, is the bride's name on the wedding me? The two skeptically took it, their interest renewed. It's really not you. So, Eric, right? Now this lady is accusing you of personal injury causing her miscarriage and robbing her of 600,000 yuan, is that true or not? Eric's gaze turned to my belly. Now you're even finding people to impersonate police to act with you. Rachel, is this necessary? I'm just having a ceremony with Stella. The police, speechless, could only show their badges. We are indeed police, please cooperate with the investigation. Eric laughed, covering his mouth. It looks quite real, but I don't have time to play with you now. Rachel, take your people and leave, otherwise, I won't tolerate your continued disruption. As he said this, he pushed me toward the stage exit. Seeing him dare to lay hands on me in their presence, the two police immediately flipped him over and pinned him down. This is your first warning, if you lay hands again, we'll cuff you. Pinned down, Eric shouted in pain, Rachel, are you sick? finding two actors to ruin my wedding with Stella. Listen, if you keep making trouble, I don't want you anymore. Enduring the intense pain from my belly, I squatted down and patted his cheek. Now it's not you not wanting me, it's me calling the police to arrest you because you took my 600,000 yuan. Eric was pinned to the ground, the relatives around cast their gazes toward the stage. The police had entered without alarming anyone earlier, only now did they realize. The groom was pinned under the police. Eric's mother ran onto the stage, cursing at me. Rachel, what are you doing? Can't you see Eric is being pinned? Hurry and tell these security guards to release Eric. I silently watched her coldly. If she claimed ignorance of today's events, I definitely wouldn't believe it. It was a pity that I had been so good to her initially, feeling sorry that she raised Eric alone and it wasn't easy, giving her the key to my family's large apartment, hiring a nanny to arrange her daily life, tolerating her repeatedly, yet she deceived me along with Eric. Seeing me silent, she cursed a few times and went to pull at the police pinning Eric. Hurry and release my son, whatever benefits Rachel gave you, I'll double it. Not to mention the police wouldn't accept, the issue was that her money was all mine. When Eric was with me, he was penniless, almost unable to afford meals. Pinned to the ground, Eric couldn't maintain his facade anymore and cursed at me. Rachel, are you getting old, with a twisted heart that can't stand seeing others happy? In terms of age, he was 2 years older than me. Where did he get the courage to say such things? I get it, you're just jealous of me and Stella. I've emphasized many times that Stella won't threaten your position. Actually, I didn't understand why these two, who loved each other so much, had to break up. If you two can't separate, don't break up and harm the next person, trying to have it both ways. Do you really think I'm stupid? A flash of pain crossed Eric's eyes. Do you think we wanted to separate? If it weren't for Stella's mom insisting on a 60,000 yuan bride price, we wouldn't have broken up. Eric's mother, hands on hips, raged. What a precious daughter, demanding 66,000 yuan. Look at yourself, aren't you just clinging to my son? Eric's mother's words were quite right. I tilted my head and smiled at her. She, not understanding, cursed crazy, so I walked up to her and said word by word, Auntie, now your son has robbed me of 600,000 yuan, what do you say we do? She shouted at the top of her lungs, what, robbing you of 600,000 yuan? Yours is my son's, besides, my son is so excellent, a mere 600,000 yuan isn't something he can't earn. At this point, the police had pulled Eric to his feet. The once glamorous him was now disheveled, glaring viciously at me. Rachel, don't bully the young and poor. I interrupted him. Return my bank card. He inexplicably became smug, indicating the card was in his pants pocket. Really not wanting any physical contact with such a disgusting person, I could only have the police release him first. Once free, he sensibly handed me the card and my phone together. I opened the mobile banking app to check. There was only 0.1 yuan left. You used the money inside? He busied himself dusting off his clothes, not answering my question. I stepped forward and grabbed his collar. Eric's mom came up to stop me, but I glared at her. Try touching me. Intimidated by my glare, she didn't dare come forward, only cursing verbally. You child, after marrying into my family, I'll have to discipline you well, teach you how to respect elders. Today I'll let it go, but let me tell you, I'm very angry now. Unless you transfer 50,000 yuan to me for beauty treatments, I won't calm down. Eric chimed in, I used the money, so what? Also, that's my mom, and your mom too, show her some respect. If not for the police presence, I really wanted to slap both mother and son. Seeing him admit to using the money, I wasted no words. Police, he admits to using my money, this money was robbed by him. Upon hearing this, the police immediately took out handcuffs and cuffed him. You used coercive means to seize others' property, suspected of robbery, come with us. He struggled, unwilling to comply. Are you really police? How could it be fake? The police nodded speechlessly. Eric immediately panicked and explained, we really are husband and wife, that money is our marital property. Seeing the police didn't believe him, he anxiously roared at me, Rachel, say something. Do you really want to watch them take me away? If I have a criminal record, our child won't be able to take civil service exams. How dare he mention the child? I touched my flat abdomen and emphasized again, Eric, is the bride's name me? He hurriedly explained, how many times do I have to say it? I'm just having a ceremony with Stella, you're the one I love most, the mother of my child. I sneered, the child is already gone. Originally, if you hadn't snatched my phone, there was a chance to save it. Even at this point, Eric still didn't believe it, saying disdainfully, Rachel, don't joke about the child like this, I know you love me a lot. Hurry and withdraw the report now, the ceremony is about to start. Stella dreams of a perfect wedding. Don't ruin it at this time, Stella will be heartbroken. Seeing Eric so affectionate, I decided to fulfill him, officer, the Stella he mentioned is the one who robbed me of 600,000 yuan along with him. Coincidentally at that moment, Stella, growing anxious from waiting, entered the site herself in the wedding dress. The relatives had been whispering since the police entered and hadn't stopped yet. Seeing her walk into the trap, it saved me trouble. I pointed at her, it's her, she and Eric pushed me causing my miscarriage. This is the hospital's diagnosis proof. Stella's steps in lifting her wedding dress paused, she looked toward Eric as if seeking help. Receiving her gaze, Eric immediately cursed me, Rachel, your acting is over the top, you've scared Stella? Stella forced a smile and grabbed me, her tone full of pleading, Rachel, Eric loves you the most, just let me fulfill a dream, don't ruin it, okay? Eric fell for this, but I didn't, I shook off her arm. She pretended to lose balance and fell to the ground, tears welling in her eyes, Rachel, this wedding dress cost 600,000 yuan, it's Eric's affection for me. Even if you don't like me, you can't push me. Hued by this, Eric lost his temper, Rachel, are you sick? Everything you've done today is to ruin my wedding with Stella. You've already got me, what more do you want? I curled my lips and smiled, what do I want? I want you to return my money. Also, today's wedding setup cost me 1 million yuan, the wedding dress Stella ruined was 200,000 yuan, plus the 600,000 yuan, total 1,800,000 yuan. Compensate me right now immediately. Then I won't pursue it further, otherwise. The words were said so bluntly, but Eric just couldn't understand, still stubbornly saying, Rachel, you're making this fuss just because you also want a wedding with me. I promise you, after I finish with Stella, I'll have one with you too, okay? Hurry and withdraw the case, it's so embarrassing. The police, who had been silent, spoke up to ask Eric, you mean this Rachel lady is your wife? Eric nodded in admission, yes, she's already pregnant with my child. The police understood and pointed at Stella, this one is the object of your wedding today. Eric rarely showed some color, uneasily saying, just a ceremony, it has no legal effect. Officers, this is all our family matter, no need to trouble you, we can resolve it ourselves. The police looked at me, Eric urged, hurry and withdraw the case, don't let outsiders see the joke. Stella tucked her hair behind her ear and said in a coy manner, Rachel, you're too immature. If today Eric was marrying someone else, I definitely wouldn't disrupt, I'd just silently bless him in my heart because I love him and hope he's happy. Her speech successfully won Eric's heart, he looked at me with disappointment, Rachel, this is true love. It's about fulfillment, unlike you, for a small matter, you actually call the police to arrest me. I nodded, he thought I agreed with his words and softened his tone, Stella loves me so much, besides the wedding, I can't give her anything else. So, transfer the house and car your parents gave as dowry to her name. Eric's mother muttered, my son's charm is really great. The police, seeing these oddballs, turned their faces away. I interrupted Eric's endless talk, I nodded to say that I called the police to arrest you. You say we're husband and wife, where's the evidence? Eric was stumped by my question, mumbling, aren't we going to get the marriage certificate tomorrow? Now I was immensely grateful that we hadn't gotten it early, otherwise, today's matter might really become a family dispute. You said it's tomorrow, now legally, you and I are not the husband and wife you claim. The police also seriously asked him, is what Ms. Rachel said true? You haven't gotten the certificate yet? If not, you're in Stella's actions today indeed suspect personal injury and robbery, and with a large amount, it constitutes a criminal offense. He didn't answer the police's words, just repeating, getting the certificate tomorrow, what's the difference of one day? I just used my money a bit early. Stella also stepped out to speak for him, exactly, Rachel, you're getting the certificate tomorrow, and you already have Eric's child in your belly. If I were you, I wouldn't be so stingy. Seeing them repeatedly mention the child, I threw out the miscarriage report from the top-tier hospital. Besides that 1,800,000 yuan and my 5 gold items, I also want to sue you too for personal injury causing my miscarriage. Eric snatched the hospital report and read it word by word. After confirming no forgery, he suddenly burst into loud cries. Rachel, why didn't you say earlier that your belly really hurt? The child, my child. Was I asleep? I emphasized it over and over. Watching his crocodile tears, my heart felt no touch. I just lamented how blind I was back then to fall for such a man. He cried heartbrokenly, then as if thinking of something, lifted his head and glared viciously at Stella. Didn't you say you studied medicine, that Rachel would be fine like that? Startled by his sudden questioning, Stella stepped back. Eric, you really believe this report? Maybe it's Rachel's indiscreet private life, so a light push from me caused the child to be lost. Even at this point, she was still spreading rumors about me. The discomfort from my body made me not want to entangle further. Police, they've admitted everything, you can take them away. Eric hugged my leg, crying and begging, wife, I was all deceived by Stella. If I knew your belly really hurt, I absolutely wouldn't have ignored you. Seeing him sell her out so quickly, Stella also revealed his secrets. Eric, I deceived you? You enjoyed it yourself, on one hand unwilling to let go of Rachel, this rich girl, on the other feeling marrying into hurts your pride, insisting on a marriage ceremony with me. You don't love me at all, you're just doing some obedience test on Rachel. Eric immediately retorted, get lost, you vixen, if not for you, I wouldn't have fought with Rachel like this today. He hugged my leg, unwilling to let go. Wife, give me another chance, I won't dare again in the future. The police pulled him away. I couldn't be bothered to give him another glance. Eric's mom quickly reacted, morally kidnapping me. Rachel, Auntie will kowtow to you. Our Eric was bewitched by the vixen. Forgive him this time, he'll definitely treat you well in the future. Seeing me unmoved, she began pulling the relatives below the stage to persuade me. My eyes turned, and I said to Eric, for me to forgive you, it's not impossible, return the money and the 5 gold items. Eric's mother's eyes brightened, she made calls to borrow money, finally scraping together enough, scavenged the gold ornaments from Stella, and handed them to me. After the money was transferred, I gave her a brilliant smile. Forgive you? Dream on. You have one day to move out of my house. Oh, and today's banquet balance is still 300,000 yuan, all eaten by your relatives, remember to settle the bill. Eric and Stella, this pair of illicit lovers, were sentenced to 10 years for burglary and robbery with a huge amount. The day after the wedding, I reclaimed the large apartment and nanny given to Eric's mom. At first, she refused to move. I had the property management cut off her water and electricity. She came out only when she couldn't stand the hunger and even called me, but for such a person, I now don't want to have any involvement at all.